Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats with writer and comic book legend D.G. Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
Recording has started. Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I'm your Captain, Charlie, the Professor Esser. And with me, as always, is my first mate and skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Welcome, Mozz. In a world, in a galaxy of Capes and Lunatics, of gods and monsters, there are those who are lost and those who are foundlings. The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode, I want to say 4, or more. Chapter 20, The Foundling. Din Djarin returns to the hidden Mandalorian covert. Our director this week is the one, the only, Carl Weathers himself. Our writers are, of course, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and... collapse that ad. And, of course, Jon Favreau gets created by, and George Lucas gets based on Star Wars by. I'm surprised that this is actually a Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni joint, although I guess that maybe accounts for some of the disparity between the two parallel stories. Do you know what I mean?
Explain.
Yeah. Well, so what we have is what is the main story, which is the adventure story to save the one, the child of,
right.
Of, one of the Vizslas, the one played by, Jon Favreau himself.
That's Jon Favreau's voice?
Paz Vizsla it's Tate Fletcher's body, but I believe it is it is Jon Favreau's voice, or at least it was Jon Favreau's voice sometimes. So sometimes it's Jon Favreau, and sometimes it's Tate Fletcher either doing Jon Favreau's voice or possibly Jon Favreau is doing Tate Fletcher's voice when he voices it. But the first time we saw the Heavy, who is Paz Vizsla, that was in the first season of The Mandalorian. And in that situation, it was Jon Favreau doing the voice, and I think maybe even doing the body, which is why they put him in the heavy armor, because you have to. You have to fit a full size Jon Favreau in there. He's a fully grown man. So they trade off on exactly what roles they do with that. But so that is a character. I think when he talks a lot, it's usually Jon Favreau's voice, and when he talks a little, it's Tate Fletcher's. In classic Mandalorian style. So
this was a Bo-Katan episode. I mean, this season has really been a Bo-Katan season.
Well, exactly. And this is, I think, what the real point of the title is. It's about the Mandalorian. They don't specify which Mandalorian it is. And, just wait till Grogu gets a helm. When Grogu gets his little helmet.
Oh, boy.
And this then becomes Grogu's story. Yeah.
He's going to be like Professor X.
Yeah. Because he is going to be a force-using Mandalorian just like the original wielder of the Darksaber. Yeah, he will be able to walk both worlds.
So he won't need a helmet.
Well, I mean, he but he may take it in honoring of the
right. No, but I mean, like the walking of the both worlds, just like Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
That's
I know that's next episode. Don't worry. They know, Mozz. These we're like a week behind on posting these, so like everyone's gotten a chance to watch it, so don't worry too much. But hey, kids, if you're worried about spoilers, maybe don't watch a spoiler podcast.
right.
But no, I do like these stories, but they are it's interesting. Well, so and the two stories are Grogu's story with the return of Ahmed Best, who is, of course, the actor who played Ahmed Best, yes, who played Jar Jar Binks in the original series, played Kelleran Beck in a game show for kids about being a youngling, and is then now Kelleran Beck in the actual Jedi Temple, where he actually is, according to the lore, the one who is central to the training of the young. So this is all a very personal affront for him. And, also one of these dark moments where people say, who do we have to save? Who is the one person you have to get out of this room when things start going down? And anyway, in this story, the first story is Grogu having to learn to be an apprentice, having to learn to fight.
I feel like almost that's the side story.
Well, no, that's the start. That's the start of it. Because what you have Paz Vizsla's kid kind of, like being told he has to play with his little cousin, and then his little cousin beats him. And it's like, it's like bad enough that I had to play with the kid, and then the kid is actually better at me than this. I didn't take the challenge seriously, which is an important lesson for every Mandalorian. Take every challenge seriously. Doesn't matter that they're smaller. Doesn't matter he doesn't have his helmet. Doesn't matter you get in the first 2 shots. The kid might have a little something extra that you weren't counting on.
You always have to respect your opponent.
Exactly. And for what it's worth, this is why this is an important scene, because it also shows that Grogu's being told that while he can while he's on the path of Mandalore, he can still use the Jedi powers he's had. He's been using them before he had Jedi training. He used them when he was a Jedi. It's like, you get to keep your powers. You don't have to stop using your powers just because you're not a Jedi. Now you can be a Mandalorian and a Jedi. And isn't that delightful? But the little kid who is Jimmy Kimmel's nephew, as I understand it, yes, I'll say this, he's a decent kid actor,
Didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, and, what I'll always say about stuff like that is, well, I'm sure that Jimmy Kimmel got him on audition. I think the kid got the job because he got the job, It's,
It's fine with me. If I'm making a show and my friend wants to cast his kid in it, sure. That's the right of being, someone who creates something. You can do whatever you want with it.
But the thing, and this is what I want to say, is like there's a difference between, like, okay, yeah, you can have your kid be in the background, and saying, no, your kid, I'm going to give your kid lines, your kid's going to actually have to do this, and then you don't put that kid in there if they can't do it. That I think is the real difference, and that's why not to get into the whole Nepo baby discussion again, but I do think that's why there is a difference between getting an audition, which is a great deal, but quite frankly, it's something that people go through all the time just to try and get auditions.
But the state doesn't own everything, right? We run these are private whatevers, right? Somebody's doing a show, they cast whoever the hell they want. You don't have any right to say, "Oh, I deserve to be whatever." It's somebody's show, they're making it. Who are you to say you have or anybody has a right to be in anything?
And to be clear, even if the state did own it, it would be even worse. Because then it's literally it's the people in the cadre, this is what you've been assigned to do, right, whether you're good at it or not. So then it's even worse. But moving right along, but yeah, so he gets embarrassed on a couple of different levels. First off, he's like, why isn't he wearing a helmet? And they said he can't talk yet. He can't take the oath, which makes you wonder, does that mean that if you're raised a Mandalorian and you never have the ability to speak, can you never take the oath? Or is there ways around that?
At some point, whenever you can sign.
Yeah, I guess that would work.
It's whenever you can communicate ideas.
Yes, exactly. But as we've seen, Grogu is getting far more vocal. He's going to be able to take the oath soon.
Yep.
He is 53 years old. So,
Right, but again, a year's worth of development might take another 50 years. Well, no, because usually I think by 100 you're pretty much an adult for the tridactyl species. Well, I mean, just think about it. He's a tiny baby and he's 50.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a growth spurt or something, but
yeah, he has to hit he's coming out of his toddler phase.
Right.
Because he's been toddling.
Years. So add another toddler on top of that. He's still,
Yeah. We'll have to see. But it's normal. It's like humans. You're a baby for about a year and you have the growth, but then you're a kid and then you hit puberty and in 10 years you go through twice as much growth as you went in before. So I think we could see a growth spurt for Grogu in the near future. But that's just my opinion. We'll have to see. They also don't want to give the poor kid acne, Right. But anyway, so what happens is they pick darts. And it's interesting because, it's just paintball. Because you're obviously using non-lethal weapons at this point with these little kids. And as he's training, even Bo-Katan makes he doesn't even know how to use darts. It's like this is the first time he's doing it, Because and that's the thing.
Tasted that soup that's supposedly intrinsic to Mandalorian culture. He doesn't know how to use darts. What are you doing, Din?
Well, to be fair, Din was not planning on training him until he picked the armor,
Not only that but training is a little bit slower with this little guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but now that he has a place to let them train, he's actually really working hard he's trying to be a good dad. Okay. Mm. It's hard balancing Mandalorianizing and everything else. But in this moment, he is, he is letting him have his first training, and he's not putting him in blind because he knows what he can do, but he also probably doesn't think he's going to win. He just wants him to show that he actually has talents, but he does wind up winning when he does the double Jedi backflip and hits him. That makes, Jimmy Kimmel's nephew go off to the side to be sad. And which, of course, first rule of anything, don't walk off to the side when there are monsters present. This poor kid, he is just monster bait. Mm. It's just everything, everywhere he goes. It's like, oh, hey, that kid looks tasty.
Within 15 minutes, he encountered so much trouble.
Yeah, it's a rough go for that poor one. But, and again, it is just, and this is the thing. It's the second time that these guys are saving Paz Vizsla's kid, and that I think is really a weighty aspect of this. That, Paz Vizsla is not a friend to either Bo-Katan or Din Djarin, but he's being shown that these are the people that have his back. These are the people that will protect his family and will give everything they have for him.
And not just that, but it sort of points to the I don't want to say laziness, but like the lax attitude they have towards things. Like, go fight for your kid. They're all like, oh, they take our kids all the time. What are we gonna do? We don't know where it goes. And Bo-Katan's like, what are you talking about? Let's go after him.
Yeah. Well, so the problem is
the point that they do need a reinvention. Maybe their orthodoxy and their whatever has gotten them so in a comfortable routine. And they don't have an identity, and so they don't know what to fight for or stand for.
Exactly. And I do think that is very much the issue here, which is that they are a species that, what do? We fight. When someone goes to take our kid, we run right after them. We don't think strategically, whereas Bo-Katan is saying, I can't chase that gigantic, rock beast with my jetpack. It's going to run out of fuel. And goes and takes her ship and follows along with her ship. And
it makes the Mandalorians sound a little dumb, don't you think?
Well, it makes them sound like a lot of warrior class people. And the idea
they're supposed to be Mandalorians. They're like tactically brilliant and they get stuff done.
Well, no, that's the thing. That's the different. There are different types of Mandalorians. There are Mandalorians that are solo fighters. And I think a lot of this group, a lot of the Death Watch are solo fighters. They don't organize as armies. They organize as, remorseless killing machines.
Yes, but they are still formidable tactically. I feel like for them not to be able to think their way through finding a way to chase this beast is disappointing.
It is. I mean, I will argue it is. But also, I think there's an aspect to it where when one group takes off, you sort of have this idea that, well, I have to take off too, rather than what Bo-Katan does, which is like, okay, I can follow them. So while I'm getting my ship ready, I can follow them and then follow it to its nest.
Right.
And that's the real difference here, is that she is being strategic because they're actually taking that effort. If they all ran to their ships, by the time they got in the air, they'd be gone. So you need some people to do the immediate tracing and following, and then you need someone with a ship that can come in behind it. And that, I think, is what is most interesting in this, is that these Mandalorians, by and large, don't seem to have their own ships. Or at least none that we've seen. Or that if they have them hidden away, and they don't leave them parked on the beach.
Right.
Which makes sense when you're also a covert that's hiding.
It's called a covert, for crying out loud.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like their ships are probably like behind the cave, so it's like it's harder to get to. But hers,
go get your ship. That's your kid, for crying out loud.
Well, then, especially for Paz Vizsla, it's his kid.
Right.
Yeah, but your kid gets taken. You're running after that man, no matter how stupid it seems.
I know, but like if somebody kidnaps your kid and drives away in a car, you're not going to go chasing them on foot. You're going to go get in your car.
Yeah, if your car's close by.
That's the back of the house. Go get in the back. It just seems.
I understand what you're saying.
Almost unforgivable for them to be Mandalorians and that short-sighted.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think that it works. It worked out in everyone's favor that they had Bo-Katan there. And that, I think, is what it
seems though like they're taking a lot of liberties with a lot of other things to make Bo-Katan look good. Like they're lessening other people to make her look good rather than build her up, for its own sake. But like in one episode, she saves Din twice. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. She's really good and whatever, but they're all supposed to be really good. You didn't need to make everybody else dumber to make her look good. I mean, like the part we're making her look good, she sounds awesome. She does everything cool, and I'm not angry at that. But you didn't need to make everybody else dumber.
Yeah, well, and I think what the actual, and I will agree with Din's case. I think that Din probably shouldn't get trapped that easily. Yeah. But he was in a because as far as he knows, people aren't alive down here. Like when that happened, when he gets caught, he thinks he's doing a dungeon crawl. Right. He doesn't think there's a dungeon master. He doesn't think that there's someone down here doing things. Although logically, you might think that if you realize, well, wait a minute, this land isn't poisonous. This used to be the richest planet in the galaxy. Someone's going to be strip mining it. Even if the Empire is not, someone is going to be coming here just to see what's left that they can scrap. And so that makes sense. The minute he saw that there were living creatures down here, that should have been more of a warning to him. But he's also doing a split vision where he's dealing with Grogu, trying to keep Grogu safe, and probably not taking care of himself the way he normally would. So that's sort of, it's one of these things. It's one of these things that the more you break it down, the more you can understand why they are this way. You can find
justifications to
but that's
oversights, sure. But that's one Mando would never have had this happen to him, even if Grogu was in tow.
I think he was facing a much more subtle trap than he's used to. He's used to 6 guys that he has to kill. Killing 6 guys is easy, especially when we can just tell Grogu, put up your shield.
But to say that makes him not good at situational awareness and being smart enough to know I've never been here before, let me keep my guard up is a far-fetched thing for me.
And that's fair. And that is one where I'll say they probably had to capture him so that she could save him.
Yeah.
Because you needed to have a reason for her to join the quest. And this is what that reason was. And likewise, in this case, I think it's fair that, the Mandalorians in the covert aren't as experienced with climbing mountains. Because they mostly have lived underground, When you're people that went from living out in the air and climbing the mountains and doing all that kind of stuff, you probably have a slightly different skill set that is probably, especially in this case, because these were city dwellers on Navarro, and now they're just living out in the middle of the wilderness with freaking monsters everywhere. It's a lot. It's a bit of a culture shock for them because they've only been here 2 years as well. And so these are all things they're dealing with, and they're learning that, when you don't have a whole cadre of people living above you, you have to deal with a lot more dragons. And, they may wear armor, but generally speaking, their fighting of dragons lore is a little light at this point. These are not the people that have ridden the mighty mythosaur. They only know about it from legends. So, moving right along. Bo-Katan, whips them into military shape, which again, I think that they really haven't had a lot of training in because they were all individual soldiers, and they could do their jobs really well, but they've never had a command structure. And now they're getting a command structure, and they all fall right in. They're all like, you're the leader. Okay. We understand to do a raiding party. We can do that, and that is what they do. And it works out well because they get there. Now,
it's almost like they're like tools, but they need someone to be able to use the tools, right? They're just a good tool. A hammer doesn't know what to do on its own. They need someone. It's like every good actor wants a really good director, right?
Exactly.
To unleash them. And so when they get someone with some confidence going, go do this, and it's like, well, that makes sense. They're like, they can't wait to be a part of it. They're like aching for leadership.
Yeah. Exactly. And just like on all the levels of it where they're just not even thinking it through. Because they're like, well, we know that if we shoot the beast, they're just going to tear the kid apart. Yeah. That's where they're in this conundrum because they are hammers and all they know how to do is nail. And it's like, but when we nail it, it still kills the kid, And it's like, we don't know how to deal with this because that's not our function. And Bo comes in and says, no, you can have more than one function. It's what the claw's for. You can pull a nail just as easily as hammer one. And she does the leadership on this, and that's good. And I like the fact that she's also getting into the culture and learning about what was to her just sort of the things you said to make the peasants clap,
Right.
But
now
there
was an active denial in her heart for all the traditions, like that she didn't want to be a part of it, that there was no magic to it, that there was no feeling that came with it, that she didn't want that feeling, that it didn't feel good. She kept telling herself that it wouldn't feel good. Now she's in it and there's a possibility. She's like, man, this feels good. Man, I like this.
Because it's good to be a part of something. It's good to feel, it's good to enjoy the fandom, you know?
That's interesting because like her fleet ran away. And so she's getting rid of a little bit of that loneliness that she's been existing in for a while.
Exactly. And it's also a group that's just accepting her not to be the leader, although they're going to let her be the leader because she's good at it. And it's a more earned role, you know? And I think that goes back to something that the Armorer said, which is that she thought she could be the leader just because she had mythology and blood on her side. And it's like, it's not the same as if you are a real leader of people. And in this moment, she shows she can be a real leader of people. And that's when people follow you. Because had she been a true leader to her people and not just the rightful heir of Mandalore, her people would not have left her when she didn't earn the Darksaber. They would have just said, you are still our princess. You are still our queen. We follow you back to Mandalore. We have the ships. We can do it now. And that they said, no, who are we to follow you? And we actually get that next episode with the racism in the Mandalorians. Because every culture has racism.
Oh.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was so much racism. It was more elitism.
What?
I was more elitism than racism, I thought.
Well, it's meant to be a genetic statement.
Well, I mean, it's the difference between foundlings who were adopted into the system versus people who adopted the adoptees. Kind of, it was that delineation. So I don't know if it was about different races. It could have been any races. It could be multiple races. But if you were there from the original, and I'm sure those were different races too. But it was just about where your lineage came from, as far as class structure rather than racism. I thought.
Well, yeah, and classes. I mean, racism often is classism. So, you know, classism, racism, they all inform each other. That's what they do. That's why it's so insidious, you know.
Yeah, but I think like the racism aspect of it is a bit more insidious than the elitism aspect of it. It's a little. I don't know how, but it's a little bit. It's less intrinsic to your being a person, your soul of who you are, elitism. It's just your history that it's called.
And it's arguable in the way that it's used. It's not that he rejects. Well, that's getting into the next episode. So let's leave that for next episode, and let's get back to this because you know they tell her you get to sit by the fire while you eat, and they actually do this whole thing. It's like that immediate question: how do you eat if you can't take off your helmet? It's like, you just go by yourself and eat where no one can see you, you know?
The other thing I love about that is that their creed and their adherence to their code is so ever present and undeniable that there's no room for emotions or pettiness. It's what is. This is the way. And that is such a beautiful phrase to let go of any sort of personal differences or pettiness. It's like, no, it's the way. I got to give it up to that. And it saves them from so much drama, I imagine, with how, and it showed me that with how willing, they were to say, hey, you're the leader. You sit by the fire. Those are the rules. We don't make them. The rules are the rules. And that helps them avoid a lot of bad feelings, I think, which is really cool.
Yeah. Sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, no, my computer's acting up about like what mic I'm on. So
I heard birds for a second.
Yes. Yeah, so they climb the mountain, and that's what it comes down to, is they go and they climb the mountain. And this is actually my biggest complaint about this episode, is how long that little guy is in the gizzard of the bird, but that he is also alive the whole time, which is a great like callback to good old Boba Fett being alive in the Sarlacc pit.
You know, sometimes you go on these holes you fall into on YouTube or Facebook where you're flipping through videos. I saw something the other day where they caught this big fish and it had some like this disc shaped thing inside its stomach and they're trying to figure out what it is. And they're like, one guy goes, I bet you it's a frisbee. And one guy goes, no, I bet you it's a crab. And they cut it open and it's another whole fish and it's alive. And it just starts flopping around after they pull it out of its stomach. And these guys are sitting there talking 15 minutes. And who knows how long the fish had been in the stomach of this bigger fish before they ever caught it. And they pull it open and it's alive and they toss it back in the water and it goes free. So, I guess I buy it.
Yeah. But what I also like about this, it means that that's actual Beskar and like even the woven stuff. That's got protection. That will get you through a bird's stomach acid. And I find that interesting because it suggests that the bird knows this, that it wants to serve its kids live prey, but it also wants it to be at least a little weakened. So it like keeps it in there for like a couple of days and then regurgitates it and then tries to get the little babies to try and eat it.
As like a training so that they can actually hunt real food. So.
Well, that's the idea. It's to train your child to be a good hunter because they're just little babies.
Just like they were doing. They were using paintballs, right? They weren't using live fire. So the same thing the little dragon is doing. Okay, just tamping down the danger of it and let them practice.
Yeah, and they do, of course, get into another big fight, and they do eventually kill the beast, and then take its babies home as their new foundlings to train, because that's how you do.
Very Game of Thrones.
Yes, well, because, they're going to ride these mighty mythosaurs, they're going to ride these beasts into battle.
Yeah, and that doesn't run out of fuel.
Yes, exactly. And can fly really fast, like surprisingly fast. And now let's get back to that other story, which was also the tale of saving the life of a child with Ahmed Best as the Jedi. Although, I gotta tell you, I think we're going to revisit this again and get a little more of the backstory. And I think we are going to see Keller and Beck meet Senator Binks from Naboo, because it is a Naboo yacht, that senatorial yacht that saves them, and those are Naboo guards. So, assuming it's not Padme's people looking to protect Grogu, I think it would be Jar Jar's people, because we know that Jar Jar certainly would know the Jedi, was friends with the Jedi, and loves to work with kids. Let's not read too much into that. But, was good friends with young Anakin,
You think he's on a mission to reform the image of Jar Jar? I mean, that would be a mighty feat if he were able to pull it off.
I think people are. I think that as much as everyone loves Darth Jar Jar, I think the idea that Jar Jar, once he realized what could go wrong, made himself available to those who needed the help, and that I would imagine that as soon as the Emperor does Order 66, Jar Jar's like, nah, I'm out, dog, and completely rebels against him. And that would also explain why we don't see him, much after once the Empire's established, because he's like, nah, dude, I'm out. You might have tricked me into helping you out, my friend, but I still know right from wrong. I may just be a Gungan, but I'm actually a good Gungan. So, that's the idea. And I do like that idea. I would love to see there being a moment of Jar Jar actually getting to show, I know everyone thinks I'm a fool, but I'm actually always thinking 6 steps ahead of everyone. Yeah. That's why I ingratiate myself with people, because I can see where power lies, but I can also see when it's time to get out of town. And so let's get out of town and gets Ahmed Best and little Grogu.
Yeah, maybe he's been pulling a Columbo on us this whole time.
Well, it's a great way to do it, act like an idiot and let everyone tell you all their secret plans. Anyway, but that was great. I love also just the mystical qualities of the forge, in the way that the hammering takes Grogu back to this moment, where you do see this is actually a mystical process. This building of this armor and the way that we interact with the forge. And it also makes you wonder if it's almost like what do you call it? Where the oracles of Delphi, where they would inhale this gas from the volcano, and they would send them on crazy trips. And I wonder if that's maybe part of it here. It's like, the smelting of the Beskar with the living waters of Mandalore, that these things together will hit you and will send you on these spiritual journeys that have you come back now wiser and more knowledgeable about who you are. And then we do see that he gets his little chest plate, which we know that means the poor little Grogu's going to get shot eventually. but good thing he's wearing the Beskar, right. Under his robes. That's the thing. By the time he's ready, he's going to be like, yeah, got my Beskar. Oh, okay. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode, Mozzie?
No, it was a really fun episode. I'm really liking the way they're building Bo-Katan's character. I can't wait to see her fight bigger fights.
Yeah, I agree. And if you all are enjoying Bo-Katan or Dar-Jen or Grogu or even Paz Vizsla, why don't you write to us about it at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. That's CapesandLunatics all spelled out at gmail.com. And if you don't like to write, you can just talk to us. Tell us what you feel. And we can even play that on the air if you want at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. Likewise, go on down to Linktree, linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics, and buy our merch. Give us money through Cash App or Patreon, whatever you prefer. If you do Patreon, you actually get to vote on stuff that we do on the big Capes and Lunatics secret shows. And if you'd like to be a part of that, we would love to have you. And in the meantime, Mozz, if people want to just reach out to you, how can they find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our mothers and fathers once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And follow me on the Twitters. I live tweet things when I feel like it, like maybe Picard when I'm watching it, when I get around to it, at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing.
Thank you, Mozz. All right, you scurvy dogs, you've come to the end of another grand adventure on the bounding main of the internet. Come back again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arrgh.